Good morning, class. Today in math, we're working on Unit 2, Lesson 8, Remembering. We're going to be reviewing today, and that's going to be adding and subtracting fractions and mixed numbers in numbers 1 and 2 in story problems, as well as 3 through 5. You'll be working on subtracting decimals, and 6 and 7, you will be working on the distributive property. Before we get started, you can go ahead and put an X through stretch your thinking. Let's go ahead and we'll walk through number 1 together. Number 1, Matt pours 3 2/3 cups of orange juice into a measuring cup from a large container. Then he pours 1 1/4 cups back into the container. How much orange juice remains in the measuring cup? Well, we know that he first poured 3 2/3 cups in, and then he removed 1 1/4 cup. So that tells us this problem, the operation we're looking for is going to be subtraction. So we have 3 2/3 minus 1 1/4. And we know that when we're working with adding and subtracting fractions, we have to have a common denominator. And here our denominators are 4 and 3. And we know that 3 cannot go into 4 evenly, but they are both multiples of 12. And so we can multiply 3 times 4 to get to 12, and anything we do to the bottom we have to do to the top. And we can multiply 4 times 3 to get to 12, and anything we do to the bottom we have to do to the top. And so first we're going to move over our whole number, and then we'll complete the math. 4 times 2 is equal to 8, and 3 times 4 is equal to 12. Go down to the next one, bring over our whole number, and 3 times 1 is equal to 3, and 4 times 3 is equal to 12. And now we can complete our subtraction problem. We're going to look at our numerators here, and 8 minus 3 is equal to 5, and our denominator remains the same, which is 12ths. And now we look at the whole number, 3 minus 1 is equal to 2. So we are left with 2 5/12 cups. So your answer is going to be 2 5/12 cups. And I'm going to remind you again today, like I did on Tuesday, that you need to make sure that you are including your labels. Anytime we have a problem that has a label, you need to include that label in your answer. It's a mistake we're making quite often, so don't forget to include all the information in the problem. I changed that font from yellow to purple to make it a little bit easier to read. All right, numbers 3, 4, and 5, you are just subtracting. In number 3, you're subtracting 2 whole numbers, so you don't have decimals to deal with. In number 4 and 5, you are subtracting decimals. And we're going to go ahead and complete number 4 together because we keep getting hung up on the same mistake very often. So number 4 is 980 and 3/10, or 980.3, minus 525 and 35 hundredths, or 525.35. What I keep having kiddos get hung up on here is this blank spot above the 5. And you just need to remember that rule that we just add a 0 into that spot because it doesn't change the value of that number. And then the first thing we do in any decimal problem is we find that decimal and we bring it down. So anytime we're adding and subtracting decimals, we first bring that decimal down. Then we can complete our math. Here we have 0 minus 5, which I can't complete, so I have to borrow, and the 0 becomes a 10, the 3 becomes a 2. 10 minus 5 is equal to 5. 2 minus 3 I can't complete, so I have to borrow, and I can't borrow here because it's a 0, so I have to move over one more. That 8 becomes a 7, this would become a 10, and then I would borrow from it, so it's going to become a 9, and the 2 becomes a 12. 12 minus 3 is equal to 9. 9 minus 5 is equal to 4. 7 minus 2 is equal to 5, and 9 minus 5 is equal to 4. So we have 454 and 95 hundredths, or 454.95. We're also going to now look at 6 and 7, and those, the directions say use the distributive property to rewrite each problem so it has only 2 factors and then solve. If you remember, you can also look back at 2-7 homework, the video there, where we discuss a lot the different properties and how they work. And I have the definition there for distributive property. When we look at, let's go ahead and complete number 6 together, and it says the quantity 5 times 600 plus the quantity 5 times 400 is equal to. Well, what it's asking us to do is rewrite this problem so that it only has 2 factors. And in order to do that, we're going to have to distribute the number. And so the number that is repeated, okay, the factor, that is repeated in this is the 5. Because what you have here is 5 times 600 plus 5 times 400. And so we have that 5 repeated in both. And so all we have to do here is pull that 5 out, because you're going to multiply it by both numbers. And then you're going to take the other 2 numbers and you're just simply going to add them together because you are adding them. And you're going to multiply now you're going to multiply the 5 times whatever 600 plus 400 equals. And so your answer is going to be 5 times the quantity, and 600 plus 400, that's a bad 4, sorry, 600 plus 400 is equal to 1,000. And there is your problem written in 2 factors, 5 times 1,000. And again, all you're doing is reversing changing how that 5 is distributed throughout that problem and adding the other 2 numbers together. You can go ahead and complete numbers 2, 3, 5, and 7 on your own. When you've completed them, please check your work, take a picture of your work, attach it to the assignment, upload it in Teams, and turn it in. Thank you.